what I wanted to discuss today is getting the best out of BIM in interior design. And I don't really know if many people are really aware of the process, but for us, it's really become a key tool in the way we work. So, you know, just a little bit about us. Yes, we're hospitality designers primarily, but we do residential and some commercial projects. And we have work in 20 countries at the moment, and we have about a team of 200 spread over our offices. And we recently opened up in London and Hong Kong, so bringing the team, spreading our wings, so to speak. And we have an in-house team of BIM specialists, but we primarily outsource. So, I mean, I don't know. Does everyone really know what is BIM and how it's actually used? So if you don't know, it's building information modeling. It's used by architects, designers, engineers, and all sorts of professionals. And it's really there to visualize and simulate and manage the buildings. We also have BIM 360, which is a platform for working and reviewing models in real time. And Revit is actually the software to produce the model. So the benefits of BIM, you know, it really does give us a lot of benefits, particularly when we're working with architects. You know, it does allow for better planning, error reduction, well, hopefully. Also, it's highly detailed. It really helps us work much better on our complex projects, and I would say that a lot of our projects are much larger in scale, so I would say most of them are now in BIM, so we have to work on these projects, and it really is a great tool for that. It really does enhance collaboration. It's comprehensive visualization for both the client and designers as well. And actually, hopefully at the end, is it really being used for facility management? Well, I think that's one of the questions, but it is a benefit if it is. But there are a lot of challenges that we sort of face when we're working on the program. And I think, you know, some of those key points are that we find from an interior design point of view that it takes 2-3 times longer on a work schedule, especially when it's against tight project deadlines. We always have workflow bottlenecks, design and drawing processes overlap, and there's also insufficient time for proper development of our drawings. Consultants are running parallel in BIM. You know, that's also a difficult thing. Everyone's doing it at the same time. It's time-consuming process with particularly heavy files. And as interior designers, we have so many components in our drawings, and everything has to be put on the model, so it starts to become complicated and heavy. So it does increase the programs for design development in particular and detailed design. And it also time to model and the parameters to every item. So sometimes we have to ask our questions to the clients, do you need the extent of BIM for interior design like you do for architecture? But longer lead times is a key factor. We also have huge resourcing challenges. For many years, we've been working with teams in CAD who are now experts to draw up details, to do, some of the design work. And now we are facing outsourcing to these BIM companies where the people on the other end are architects, engineers, and they've never done hospitality projects. So they're having to draw our details. So when we write here, resource intensive for large-scale projects, it's this steep learning curve. We now have to educate the people on the other side to be able to design in BIM, detail in BIM some of our projects. And this is really causing a real problem. We're finding that we are having to design and draw everything in CAD, give it to them to put it in BIM, and that process just takes forever. So the client is paying a lot more. So we need to double up on our resources and use CAD to support the modeling. Always, this is kind of a critical aspect. There needs to be a larger team to produce the work, not just to physically produce the work, but also to support checking things, and check all the modeling. Outsourcing is costly. This is a big expense, and I don't know if some of you have been involved in having to pay for that, but when we are sort of hiring someone to help us with our BIM needs, we have to pay them monthly, but the client doesn't necessarily pay us monthly. So for a designer, we're actually outlaying the cost of the project because that BIM specialist team is actually part of our payroll, but they're not. So we're actually having to pay those additional charges. So resourcing challenges are a really key factor. Sometimes, some designers find that BIM software is really limiting in terms of creative freedom compared to traditional models. We're seeing that as well with some of the teams. Definitely higher costs. The software and training involves significant upfront costs, not just the BIM software, the actual person behind the BIM modeling as well, but potentially it's up to 50% higher cost when using BIM fully for an interior design project versus CAD. So I want to share with you some of the things that we are trying to now educate our clients with the type of BIM services that we can offer. And if you look at the service there on the left-hand side, so we have one called BIM Extra Light, or light version, or medium, or comprehensive. And the scopes there are sort of pretty clear of what's required. For instance, if I take example, extra light, this is really for RCP coordination purposes, but the drawing package is still prepared in CAD, and it's really managed within the normal timelines. The fee there could be about 10% higher than what we would normally do in CAD. But if we're looking at something like BIM Comprehensive, which is a service where it's comprehensive modeling with detailed parameters, meaning everything is done in BIM, including our furniture. And that means everything is in Revit with CAD support for the entire process, doubling up on the resources. It requires triple time, and it's allowed in program and what is done in CAD. So it's a really laborious process. The fee here, we would say that if something is priced at 500,000 dirhams, it will be 50% higher. So we really have to kind of educate our clients in this process. So these are different working methods. And these are some examples. So just to let you know, over the last 5 years, our company was introduced to doing BIM for a project in the Red Sea. And, it was the first time we had to do it. It was a huge learning curve. But I think we became kind of experts, and we've really tried to educate the client along the way and how are the best ways of working with it. So we have a huge knowledge of the comprehensive modeling sort of service. We don't necessarily recommend it. We ask the question, why do you need it? Why do you need it to that length degree? You can see here, most of those projects are in Saudi Arabia. People are asking for it, but it is super expensive. It takes a long time, but we are learning from it. And from this and from our experience, we really want to be able to help the industry educate why we should be doing certain services in BIM for interior design. So if I take that previous level of services and BIM scope, we really recommend that a BIM light version, where we have the basic modeling and key detail development, is done in the BIM, but we still do a drawing package in CAD, meaning looking at our joinery items, millwork, and so forth. And this requires only 1.5 times more time than what we would normally do it in CAD, but the fee is only about 25% higher. So if a fee is 1 million dirhams, it might be another 250,000 dirhams on top to just have it done in BIM, but with a BIM light. But this really also allows us to coordinate with the MEP and the architects in a much more efficient manner, and it doesn't spend all this time drawing up models and details of every single item that's on that in that design project. So this is really our recommended approach. So, not to bore everyone to death on the subject, I think what we want to ask, I know everyone will ask me a few questions as well, but what is the ultimate aim of BIM in interior design? I think that is what needs to be asked at the onset of a project for each developer. You know, it comes from the top, but do they really know what it's going to take, how long it's going to take, and why do they need it? You know, will they be using it at the end? And you know, we've been fortunate, like I said, to be now working on the platform. And it's been really a major learning curve. It's great, you know, for coordination purposes, but it's also super frustrating for being able to deliver things on time, you know, even just moving something or a change and administering that change. So we want to ask that question, you know, what's the ultimate aim for the project? So, yeah, thank you.